Hello and welcome to In the Light, Growing Your Soul with me, Anna Isabel. And I have two guests today. They are Helen Githiomi and Melanie Winsland. And they are from the Crediton Community Assembly, which is part of the Community Assemblies of the British Isles. Welcome.
Thank you, Anna. Nice to meet you.
And you. And the reason you're here is because I have, over the last year, been learning about all sorts of wonderful community groups that have come together to create, let's just say, better versions of ourselves or better versions of our society. And you are part of the Community Assemblies of the British Isles. You have your group in Crediton. And I really wanted to learn more about what you are doing. So to begin with, how did you come together?
Shall I start that?
Yes, you start.
Okay, right. So I started a group in Exwick, Stand in the Park, with somebody else, another lady, and there I was introduced to other people who told me and the other lady about another group that had started up in Crediton, and it was the lockdown support group. And so from there, this other lady and myself went along to Crediton, to this lockdown support group, in the tea rooms, the railway station tea rooms as well. So it was quite interesting, actually. And that's where I met Helen and a lot of other ladies as well. But that's how we first met each other.
And that was back in February, March 2021. We first started this. And that was really just about talking with friends that we met when we were shopping. And a lot of people were worried at that stage. They were fearful. And they were looking for means of support, which is why we actually came together. And the word just went word of mouth, really. So we were quite surprised, actually, at the number of people that came from quite a large area. It wasn't just Crediton, but it was Exeter and a lot of villages spread out around Crediton. So, sometimes people were traveling about 3/4 of an hour to actually come to the meetings, which were held once a week. And it was really just about people being able to talk about what worried them, what their fears were, what their hopes were, the problems that they were encountering with partners, with friends, with family. And they were really distressed. I mean, that was a common theme that was running throughout the group, and also about how to interact in the very changed environment that we all found ourselves in. And it's been a huge learning and growing with all of us, actually. In fact, when I look back on the people that were actually in that meeting, or for the first year or so, and how we are now, it's like chalk and cheese, because people are so different. People are so much stronger in themselves. They have done a lot of work on themselves, and also a lot of work regarding just the way we are, how we function as a community, as a town, as a country, and how the world works. Because I think, people have led such busy lives. We've been so drawn into this tight spiral of working, eating, sleeping, going to work, worrying about our bills, worrying about keeping a roof over our heads. And we haven't really had the time or the energy to actually really focus on what is really important to us, because I think we've been shown, you know, wear the latest fashion, buy the latest model in a car or whatever, you know, because this shows that you are successful, that you are happy, that you're thriving. And I think people started to really question the values that they were being told were actually what they should be striving for. And it takes a lot of effort, I think, for people when they're confronted with such a fearful situation to suddenly step back and to go within without that fear of what's going to happen to them. So I think people worked on themselves, you know, and with the support of the group, it was lovely, because you know, when you've got about 35 people, naturally you will have personalities that cleave together, you know, so smaller little groups were formed, which was lovely because we were able to socialize. We were also able to express ourselves and talk more deeply about how we felt about things without fear of causing any more fractions, you know, between people, because we felt that we were understood, because, you know, everybody was coming on the same page, as it were. So, you know, you felt that freedom of expression was it's very cathartic, but it's also very soothing. And we've built some very, very strong friendships, I think, as a result of that.
And this is why I wanted to invite you onto the program, because from my perspective as a therapist, watching events unfold over the last 3 years, I've watched the very detrimental impact that many policies have had on individuals and on families and communities. Everything has been extremely divisive.
Yes.
But what interests me is the counter effect that has created.
Yes.
From the very early days of us being locked up in our homes, was bringing people together. And I saw that happening because of people actually wanting to genuinely reach out to support others, whether it was volunteering to get shopping, volunteering to, you know, help in other ways, online groups that started to form. That instinct for people to unite when they were being divided and separated was very, very strong. And so to see that evolve into the various groups, yours being one of them, that is happening. And just to the audience who aren't aware of where Crediton is in Devon.
Yes.
And for those who are not part of the British Islands, Devon is in the southwest of England. So, but this is, I think, very typical of many things that I'm witnessing happening around the country, and indeed around different parts of the world, where people are coming together. And I think the other thing that I was really listening to what you were saying, and you were talking about that sense of support, of you had no idea that once you kind of opened the door, people would start coming in. And suddenly you realize, oh, I'm not alone here. There are others who feel as I do, and so maybe we can look at linking and supporting each other. So I think the other thing you said that really struck a chord was that questioning of values, and the emphasis that we have, particularly, it has to be said, in the West, but not exclusively so. The idea that you work hard and the reward is basically money, which enables you to have a certain status, and part of that status that you gain, the signals for the status are what you own. Somewhere along the road, that has become the goal to which we move. And we put extreme pressure now on our children to achieve in school in a certain academic way, in order to then be able to acquire the jobs that are going to give them the status and those things. And we define that as being good. And I think what you're identifying, and which I see is actually happening, is people stopping and saying, excuse me, but what's going on here? We have effectively entered into a contract that indebts us and puts us in servitude, in perpetuity.
And it's an unknowing contract which has been formed as well. And when I said that a lot of people were doing lots going inwards, but they were also doing lots of research as well, and realized the extent of how their lives are actually manipulated. We think that we are free beings, that we actually make a conscious decision about all sorts of things. And nothing could be further from the truth when you actually really drill down to how we have been educated in this world, the education system, but also the myriad of technology that we have, which is they are all saying, they're using the same terminology, the same words, which is mind control. It is a conditioning. So it's actually pushing us in certain routes. When you go into the supermarket, you automatically go for the products that you've seen advertised or you've heard on the radio or whatever it is, you know, on a billboard somewhere. And you think you're actually making a conscious decision about something, but actually you've been pre-programmed. And of course, when you go into the history of you know, what's brought us to this point in time, you realize that actually we've been played. We've really been played as a, not just as a society or as a nation, but the whole race, the whole human race. And in fact, I think we got to a point when we were talking once about what was going on, and it made me realize that actually having this this whole process placed on us in the last 3 years, this is the greatest gift that we could have had, the whole of mankind. This whole scenario was a gift to us, because it's now made us wake up and realize what is important to us. Who are we really? Where did we come from? We've been sold a story about how mankind came onto Earth, but is that actually the case? We don't really know. There is so much that we have not been told or has been misrepresented, and we've trusted that source. We've taken it on board, and that has created our persona. But actually, that's not really who we are. And I think the older you get, the more experiences you have, the more you come to realize that actually that's not the whole story at all.
It is certainly true, I think, to say that the materialist and materialistic view of the world is not serving us well and never has. The idea that all that we see, that all that is what we can see, touch, and hear. Regular viewers of this program will all know that is something to make us giggle. That very notion. So this materialist view is extremely limited and cuts us off from the essence of who we are.
Yeah.
And the materialistic approach to life serves that also, because it stops us. It keeps us so busy that we haven't got time to think.
Yeah.
And with my therapy hat on, it cuts us off from our own feelings as well. And so we are much more vulnerable to manipulation, the kind that you're talking about. And again, as a hypnotherapist, and understanding very well the techniques that are used to nudge people in certain directions. After all, we do have a nudge unit operating in government. And part of that nudge unit will be the advertising that we see on a regular basis, and also the mainstream media play their part also. So the difference between pre-2020 and post-2020 is that prior to this, we were being nudged in a particular direction. Post-2020, we have been shoved rather unceremoniously the direction that the top-down government system has chosen to use. And I think it's by being manhandled in this way that many of the population are going, excuse me, that's rather rude, you shouldn't be shoving me. And taking notice of what's going on around them. So in a sense, your community is helping individuals realign with their sense of humanity. Would that be true to say?
Well, I think at the moment, because we are such a young community, as it were, we've only just started out as the Crediton community, and of course we've actually kept ourselves solid as a group to ourselves in a way, simply because of the reactions that we have had when you start talking. If we were to have conversation that we often have as a group amongst ourselves, if we take that conversation outside of our group and we are then conversing with other people, you know, from different walks of life or whatever, but you can see that some people are not comfortable with the way that we are talking about things. And at the moment, I feel that we have to step very, very slowly as we move forward, because I want to make people aware that we have this community, and these are the aims of support and being able to offer alternative ways of living and being. And we have different focuses on you know, what's really important in our lives and what we strive for. But it's got to be something that is it's just there, that we can present to people, and they have to explore that. They have to sit with it. And I think a lot of the time, if people are very comfortable still, if things haven't really impacted their lives in a particular way or a negative way, they're very reluctant to look outside their paradigm that they already have, because change can be very scary, can't it?
Absolutely. And this is completely normal. Again, this is the day-to-day stuff of my work as a therapist, where a client comes to me and I can see where they need to go for their healing, but I'm not to tell them where they need to go for their healing. I'm to help them discover where they need to go for their healing.
That's right.
And it's to work with them at their pace. And I think this is, if you are, as a group, providing the opportunity for people to consider and move in a different direction, it is not your job to push.
No,
it is your
that's right.
job to
Yes.
allow that discovery. It's definitely a parallel, and of course that is what distinguishes groups that are interested in helping people live in a more humane way, as opposed to a system that is designed to grind them down and spit them out with extreme top-down control. So this is the distinguishing feature. So it is not surprising that you're saying we have to be very careful. I would say you have to be very gentle.
Yes.
And allow people.
A lot of compassion is needed.
Absolutely. Because again, compassion is the thing that has been missing from society, or not society itself as such, but those who have been manipulating society. Compassion is precisely the thing that has been missing. And therefore compassion is the way forward, because compassion is a form of love. So this is what interests me in what you're doing, is because that is there underlying everything that you are doing. So I guess the next question is, what are you doing?
Well, we're trying first of all to raise the awareness that this community exists. So one of the meetings we had, we were thinking of different ways of how we can engage the community, particularly those people who are still within the mainstream paradigm, shall we say. How can we grab their attention? How can we get them to come and meet us? So we did think about an autumn fair. That was the first thing that we were going to do, because people came out with amazing ideas, and you know, how we could interact and have games and attract the family unit, you know, so people come as a family, and there's lots of things for the children to do, and the adults can talk and whatever.
I think we were a bit ahead of ourselves on that one.
We were, and we suddenly realized, my word, this is going to take a lot of work and a lot of effort, which we're fine with. But the problem is, if nobody knows what we're about, they might see an advertisement or hear about us, but they won't make a beeline for us because they've not had any experience of us. So we've gone for something very, very sort of what's the word, gentle, isn't it? It's a tea and cake.
Yes.
Come and have a cup of tea with us and a piece of cake. And
can we show this?
Yes, find out what we want to do.
We're saying, come and join us for tea and cake.
Elephant on the Green.
That's right.
At the Elephant on the Green.
The Elephant on the Green.
This Sunday.
So because we're actually, and because the Elephant on the Green is a fairly new enterprise which has been started by a local chap, so it's nice that we can actually also get traffic coming into his space as well, so that people, and it's a beautiful space, the energy in this place is just
very special,
lovely, it really is, and the way that it's been designed and the decor and everything, and it makes you feel as though you are walking into somebody's living room. You know, it's not just
it's not a village hall.
No, it isn't. It's not at all, or a town hall, but it's just somewhere nice that you can sit and relax. You can go out into the little courtyard, and the energy just makes you want to stay there.
It's very it's inviting.
It is very inviting. Thank you. That was a good word. So we thought that we would just ask people to come and see us, meet us, talk to us, because I firmly believe in interacting one-on-one. I I mean, I realized that obviously things like Zoom and all this electronic stuff is very important, especially if you're trying to talk to somebody on the other side of the world. But, you know, communities are about local groups. It's about where you live, where you socialize, where you exist on this planet. And it's so important to have that one-on-one. And you can get so much from somebody that you can't really get through a screen when it's an energetic connection. And because this is what we read first and foremost when we interact with anybody, even if we just pass on the street or you're in a queue at the supermarket, you're interacting at that energetic level, whether you know about it or not, but you do tune into it, because sometimes you come away from you know, just sort of passing by somebody and you don't feel very good. And you don't know why that is, but you may have picked up somebody else's energy if they're having a bad day or whatever. So this coming together, this, you know, sharing of this positive energy, because that's what we are about. It's about an energy that you want people to come and enjoy the experience of being with you. Of being able to relax, of feeling supported, of knowing that you can actually turn to these people and say, look, I do need some help, or my garden's getting too much, or, you know, I'm really looking for whatever. And, oh, yes, okay, well, we'll put an email out, or we'll speak to so-and-so, or I know somebody who can help you with that, you know, and just putting people in the right place at the right time for whatever they need, for whatever reason. And these interactions are totally fluid. So the people who are interacting with each other, they decide how they're going to make an arrangement, you know, to contract, if we want to use that word. But it's down to the individuals to decide how they're going to be. And of course, we can't say how our community is going to eventually evolve. It depends on the people who join, because they're the ones who make the decision. We've just literally created the framework, and fantastic. I mean, hats off to Sue Cartwright and John Gilbert for their amazing vision, because that's why we were attracted to them in the first place, because there are a lot of communities that have sprung up around our area. But the most important thing, I think, for us, it was the spiritual nature, wasn't it? It was recognizing that essence that we are, because first and foremost, we are spirit having a human experience, and we need to nurture this. We need to give expression to it. We need to be creative with it. And that is what humanity is about. That's why we're here, isn't it? Because we've been given this body, this amazing machine that has all these fantastic abilities, you know, to connect with other beings on this planet. And we don't recognize it most of the time. I mean, we go for a walk in nature and we feel good. Yes, oh, that was a lovely walk. But we're actually connecting on such a deep level with the energy that comes from the trees and the plants and everything else that is around us. You know, and we need to recognize that. We need to focus on it, especially for our little ones, you know, because they are so connected with spirit, aren't they, when they first are born. But they lose that connection over a period of time as we become so solidified in our sort of physicalness, don't we? And
Matrix.
It is, isn't it? The way we're actually sort of placed into systems, and we need to get rid of all that, because we just need to connect with everything that's already here, that's already been placed on this earth for us to enjoy and engage with, and be one with. And I really think that, you know, this is how we will end up. I mean, you know, it's a long path, but you've got to start somewhere, haven't you? So that's really what we're aiming for. And it starts with tea and cake on the 1st of October. Come and join us.
Elephant on the green.
That's right.
Yeah.
Anyone could resist starting anything with tea and cake.
Exactly. Gluten-free, by the way.
So, if you are fortunate enough to be within a reasonable distance of Crediton, you will be most welcome at the
Absolutely.
At the Elephant on the Green, I think it
Yes,
is.
Elephant on the Green. And it's can I give you the postcode, because then people can put it into their...
Yes, absolutely, and I can put it into the description box.
Oh, excellent, good. That's 14 St Lawrence Green, and it's the postcode is EX173LL, and we'll be there from 11 o'clock in the morning till 4 in the afternoon, with plenty of tea and plenty of cakes.
There's a few of us baking.
I think to be there from 7 a.m. to 4 p.m. you are going to need a lot of tea and cakes.
Yes.
And there won't be just gluten-free either.
No, it'll be a whole selection. We'll be catering for everybody, we hope.
But the idea is for people to come along and meet us, and for us to listen to other people as well, and what their thoughts are about what's been going on over the last 3 years.
I think, you know, it's a wonderful thing that you're doing, because what you're doing is you're listening to people and to what they need in order to help facilitate that and create community, a community that is mutually supportive.
Yeah.
And that is, if we're going to move out of this very alienating system which has been created, this most certainly is one of the most vital ways to do that. So there it is, 1st of October, if I'm
That's right, yes.
if I remember correctly.
Sunday the 1st.
1st of October, and it is the Elephant on the Green in Crediton. Thank you so much, Melanie and Helen, for your time today.
Well, thank you very much for the opportunity to advertise our community assembly.
It is a great pleasure. And for those of you watching, thank you all for watching. Do remember to, if you are, now here's a thought. If you are not in Devon, but you would like to find a community assembly such as the Crediton Community Assembly, I will be putting a link to the community assemblies of the British
Isles
in this description box.
Thank you.
So that hopefully you will find something close to you.
Yeah.
Until next time, goodbye.
Goodbye.